I think I blew up my family. I cheated on my high school sweetheart. This will be kind of long-winded and probably a little all over the place because there is a lot of context to how my relationship ended. Thank you to anyone who decides to read. I got with my ex our junior year of high school. By the age of 21 we got pregnant, and I'm incredibly ashamed to type this, but that was the first time I stepped out on her. For some reason beyond my understanding, she decided to stick it out with me. Until this year, although I never talked to another woman or stepped out, I was a terrible boyfriend. I never made her feel secure like I should have. She on the other hand is the most faithful and caring person I ever met. She was always there for me, wanting to cuddle, asking how my day was, talking to me about my interests, etc. She never, not once, did anything to make me feel any sort of suspicion about her. About 6 years ago we both left our families and moved from California, where we're both from and where we met, to Texas. We both got a job at the same store, but I started working an overnight shift, 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. and she would work a shift of 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. We chose this route so I could be home during the day and watch our son, avoiding daycare. After some time, while working at this store, I started developing an obsession with one of my co-workers, who is also one of her close friends. I received pictures of her from a friend of mine that was involved with her at the time, and of course my girlfriend found out. She still stuck with me. Needless to say, ever since this, she was extremely insecure about this woman. About 6 months ago, she started hanging out with a group of co-workers that included this guy that she started developing a friendship with, but I trusted her so thoroughly that I was largely unbothered by it, even though I knew that he was interested in her. She said she was not interested in him in that way, so I just let it go. About a month and a half ago is when everything came to a head. I started hooking up with her friend that I mentioned, and a few weeks later, unknowing of my infidelity, she told me she thinks we should break up. She said she felt like I haven't been there for her, and she's been holding in so many feelings for so long that she's numb now, and doesn't have feelings for me any longer. A few days later is when she found out about my infidelity with her friend while I was out with her, literally in the act. There really wasn't much to talk about since we were already broken up, but ultimately she felt not only betrayed by me but her supposed friend as well. The day after that, at 10 at night, she told me she was going to a sleepover at a co-worker's house, which I thought was strange because she had never done anything like that before, and she worked the next morning. I come to find out the next morning, that she slept over the male friend's house. Despite my actions, this really hurt me because she is not the type of person who can sleep with another man as an act of revenge. She has to be highly emotionally invested in order to do that, which signaled to me that she had feelings for him while we were together. I can't blame her though. She would never entertain another man if I was being the man I should have been. A week after we broke up, she and the kids had a 9-day-long out-of-state trip planned, which left me alone in my house to ponder my actions. This was the worst week of my life. I was with her for 12 years and I don't think I cried once during that time. I cried almost every day she was gone. The thought of not having my kids in my house if she decided she wants to move out makes me sick. The thought that I drove her into the arms of another man. The thought that I threw it all away for the woman that I cheated on her with, who couldn't hold a candle to my girlfriend. I have never felt like this before. In retrospect, our relationship was probably over long before she voiced it to me. For 6 years, we would literally only see each other for 20 minutes a day because of our work schedule. She felt like I wasn't there for her and didn't make her feel secure, and I felt like I did so much by working overnight, watching the kids a majority of the time, and doing a majority of the cooking and cleaning around the house. I would work from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., come home, watch the kids from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and sleep for 4 hours, then do it all over again. Now we are broken up, and there is no animosity between us, and we still live together because we have 2 kids together, a house, don't really make enough money to separate, and our work schedules are dependent on each other. The dynamic between us is so strange because now she is constantly going out with her friend, leaving me at home to watch the kids on my off nights. She even asked me to request 2 days off work so she can go spend the night at his house. Part of me feels like it's unfair, but part of me feels like I deserve it, and I am willing to accept it in order to placate her to keep my family in my house. In the back of my head I am hoping she just wants to have some fun and then will come back to me, but I think I pushed her past her limit. Even if she didn't have this friend, I don't think she'd want me back. Now I find myself feeling so lonely. She was the only person that cared for me unconditionally and I don't have that now. Just being around her now makes me tear up because I miss her and I 100% took her for granted. The other day I was so sad and all I wanted was a hug from her, but I was scared to ask out of fear she wouldn't want to hug me. What makes me even more sad is she still does care about me, when I don't even feel like I deserve to be cared about. She told me she's glad she had her kids with me because I'm the best dad, but I'm just not a good boyfriend. I want to show her I can be the man she wanted, but it seems like it's futile. She's all I've known since I was 16 and it's hard for me to accept it, most likely over. Comment. You cheated on her, took her for granted, and now you realize the error of your ways? I too think it is too late. The problem with kind people who take a lot, when they are done, they are done. It still may be worth it to try. The reason your marriage is over, is because of your lack of care all those years, not her. Don't go back unless you mean it. I hope that her new relationship works out, as she deserves so much better. If you had ever truly cared about her, you would have put more effort into your relationship. Instead you decided to put the effort in sleeping with her friend. Stop trying to gain pity. I hope she finds happiness, and you really did mess things up beyond repair. She'll be way happier than you'll ever be. Why are you here? Did you expect this group to admire your sudden remorse? I bet you weren't sorry when she didn't know. Well, I disagree. I think far more cheaters are remorseful of their actions once they see the damage they have caused. I don't they are incapable of empathy, because is a big portion of all humans that do commit infidelity. Some are off course, but I doubt it is as one side as people make it out to be. That doesn't excuse their pathetic loser behavior. I think once they commit such an act they should be public shamed and humiliated for the rest of their pathetic lives for committing such an evil act. They took someone and dragged them through the dirt, so in turn they should be also, and it should be for life, because they can never and will never fully understand how much it hurts to have someone so dear to you, break you so much. You need to focus on being a dad, co-parent, and get therapy. You forfeited the right to be upset the first time you cheated on her. The time in between your affairs was a gift and you blew it. Also, you are a dick for insinuating that your wife had feelings for this guy before she broke up with you. Maybe she had just had enough of you behavior. You know what? Even if she did find him attractive or whatever, there actually isn't anything wrong with that. It is what you do with those feelings that decides that. If she did, she was mature enough to not act on it because she was married. You don't have that same maturity. You state that she isn't the type to sleep with a guy out of revenge. How would you know that? Because she didn't when you cheated on her when she was pregnant, or when she found you had photo of your latest affair partner, given to you by some guy at work who was involved with her, super classy BTW. No. How about this? She got tired of being with a man who had repeatedly cheated on her and decided that she deserved better. She basically wasted 12 years of her life for a guy who at 29 is saving photos of his latest crush given to him by the guy who is currently hooking up with her. Do you know just how disgusting that is? You act like a horny middle school boy. And the respect you have for women just non-existent. Does the affair partner know you and the other guy are sharing photos of her? Your wife could have taken a chapter out of your playbook and just had an affair, but she isn't like you. She ended it with you first. You don't get to be surprised, jealous, sad or whatever because you did this. You don't deserve her. You blew up your family. Grow up. The reason you think it's futile to show her you can be the man she wanted is because you know you aren't that man. It will just be an act that would only last as long as it takes to get her back. If you aren't able to fix yourself, your next relationship isn't going to be any different. For her, ending this relationship is the right thing to do, and probably long overdue. AITA ducking late. You really think you're gonna get a fourth chance? Ha ha ha, you're in so much denial. If you're going to live together, go back to just seeing each other 20 minutes a day. And don't take days off so the other can sleep away. But one of you should be gone when off work together. It will never work long-term living together, and there is absolutely zero chance she ever sees you as a viable romantic partner after the deep and constant trauma you've caused her. Move on, man, and clean your life. Next story 2. Husband of 10 years had an emotional affair. I think I need to air this out because it's been 7 months and I'm struggling again. It's a long story, but 7 months ago my husband of just under 10 years started getting distant and used the excuse of depression and anxiety. We had a healthy life previous to this, and we have 2 children together. This went on for about a month. He barely touched me the whole time unless I initiated it. The final straw was when he changed his phone passcode and skirted around it when I bought it up. I had suspicions from then but essentially gaslight myself about them because I thought he would never do that. I finally snapped and asked if I'd done something wrong. It was so out of character. That's when he broke down and told me about 2 secrets he had been hiding. 1. He had been addicted to porn since he was 12 and hated himself for it. And 2. He had met someone online and started a relationship with her. She was from another state. It wasn't physical, but did involve a couple times. I just want to point out he had known he needed to end it because she had started talking about visiting our city and hanging out together. He had planned on talking to his therapist the next day and figuring out how to tell me. I believe all of this. I stayed. I fought for our relationship. Honestly, looking back, I was kind of pathetic about it. I didn't even leave for a break. In fact, that night I wrote him a letter and told him I still loved him and that I want to work through it. He has told me so much that he never had before. It's like because he was withholding the porn addiction from me, he was withholding so much else as well. He also told me a lot of things he viewed as wrong in our relationship, and about things I needed to improve about myself, which thinking about still feels like a huge slap in my face for myself. His therapist told him that it wasn't about the what, it was about the why. His therapist essentially turned it into what I did wrong and what I need to do to make him love me again. His therapist kind of sucked, to be honest. Honestly, the affair happened because we lacked communication in our relationship. I was struggling because I felt lost after having our 2 kids, and escaped by reading. I did this a lot and I acknowledge that it wasn't healthy. He has always used video games as a way to escape. I always thought he never wanted to hang out with me, and he thought I never wanted to hang out with him. In the end, a random chick on the internet triggered a dopamine response in him. He was recently diagnosed ADHD, which explains a lot, and he chased that dopamine. She gave him compliments, talked to him constantly and eventually started sending him nudes. I'm not solely blaming her, but she knew about me, knew about our kids. As much as he says she was a decent person, I just can't view her as one, and he has said he doesn't expect me to. I feel like even though our communication is way better, we understand each other more, and I get why it happened, I'm still stuck because I was never fought for. I've told him I need reassurance so many times and it's just not happening. I tell him how I'm feeling and he says it's normal for someone in my situation. Like, yeah, I'm glad you realize it, but can you please say something to make me feel like you love me, other than saying I love you, because at this point it isn't cutting it. I think he is struggling with himself too. He feels like I never told him enough good about him and his self-esteem is really low. I don't know how to tell him what I need, because I think he feels like he also has needs, and yeah, maybe in the past they have been neglected and I know we've been super busy with life lately, but I am trying so hard to make him feel appreciated and loved, but I just don't feel it in return. I feel ugly and sad and unwanted. I just don't know where to go from here. It's been 7 months and I felt okay for quite a while, it's just recently this has been bugging me again. It doesn't help that I've been sick for nearly 2 months with cold/flu/pneumonia on and off, or that we moved to a different city because of affordability. I'm just stuck because I know all of this and can't seem to let it all go. TLDR, husband had emotional affair 7 months ago. I'm struggling with feelings of being unloved again, even though I was feeling fine about a month ago. Hubby is also dealing with his own demons, and don't want to put more pressure on him by telling him I'm needy. Also really want to punch his AP in the face because she knew about me and our family and still decided to send a recovering porn addict nudes. And he still thinks she's a decent person. Sigh. I'm just sad and don't know where to direct my sadness. Comment. Take a small break from him and some time. I know that your marriage has and had problems, but nothing justifies his cheating. He knows right from wrong, and he knew what he was doing. His affair happened because he wanted to have an affair with her. He has successfully justified his actions by placing more blame on you. I don't think that he cares about how much this hurt you and how you are expected to get over it, but having to make sure that he gets your attention and reassurance. I also don't like that the therapist said what you have to do to make him love you again. Does your husband love you, or is he pacifying himself and you by not divorcing? I would communicate to him about what he needs to do to help you put this to rest and ask him if he wants a divorce. Why isn't he in therapy with a specialist? He sounds like he's an unloving and uncaring who still cares more about his AP. Has he truly cut contact with her? If not, then a divorce is warranted? I just want to point something out. You spent a whole paragraph and a half telling us how this happened and about his opinion of her. None of that shows or helps foster real remorse. He chose to lie to you instead of work with you. He chose her. He is still choosing to excuse her behavior. If he isn't disgusted by her behavior, then his feelings on all of this are regret and not remorse. Your problems in the relationship and his lack of moral character are apples and oranges. One doesn't fix the other. You really need to separate those two in your mind. ATM, you are still doing a pick-me dance. It needs to stop if you want him to see how he actually needs to change. Until then he is stuck because instead of focusing in changing to be a better man, he is just trying to excuse his past and avoid guilt. He has almost no real remorse. I don't think he knows what I need. And I'm as bad as him when it comes to talking about what my needs are. But I'm going to try ASAP. Getting into the situation was a mistake, continuing it was a choice. You're right. It just hurts to think about. And as far as not finding the opportunity goes, he knew as soon as she mentioned visiting that he couldn't let that happen. He knew he had to tell me at that point. I'm very glad she wasn't a local because things likely could have gone too far, and hopefully now he will never let himself get in that situation again. I hope this doesn't sound rude, as I don't mean it to be. However, if he is still stuck on telling you how good a person she was despite her part in this and isn't reassuring you much, has he really picked you? It sounds more like he just decided you were the better option. He should feel like you are the only option, not just the better one. That is why. It's good he stayed if he wanted to, but it should have never been a debate. And after some time, he should have realized all the things he feels guilty over were also her fault. She is just as bad as him. I am not saying he needs to hate her. He does need to get why part of you can't like her though, and realize he can't either. At best he can maybe feel bad for her, but he can't stay trying to paint her in a good light. It's just rude to you, who ATM should be his sole priority. There is just a difference between regret and remorse, and he is at best halfway there. He needs to truly get that healing you is the only way this works at all, and that has be the absolute unquestionable priority.